Welcome back. You're watching Kivumbi 2022 with the 7th Annual Devolution Conference kicking off tomorrow in Wote, Makueni County. We focus today on the transition to devolution, and in studio we have Bobby Mkangi, constitutional lawyer. He's been a member of the committee of experts that helped birth the 2010 constitution. When Mkangi, of course, we've seen some failures in the transition. Some things did work, some have not. Of course, you've explained that this transition was supposed to happen in phases, and just how long the phases were to take until we can actually say we have a perfect state of devolution. We still do not know. You could answer that. But we've seen problems. We've seen especially what happened with the county of Nairobi. Case in point. So definitely there have been failures. Are we missing an opportunity this time round with elections coming to actually mainstream these discussions and discuss the failures that are so blatant?
Well, perhaps on the first issue, on when will we say this is perfect? Never. Because we're supposed to be improving each and every day. Why do we have devolution? Why do we have a government? Why do we have a state? Why do we have a constitution? At the end of the day, it's so that the lives of Kenyans can get better with each rising, sun. And so, even if we hit a milestone today, we hit the milestone looking at it as a stepping stone towards the next milestone. How many children are going to school, good schools? How many are sleeping well nourished? How many are playing happily out there? How many young people have jobs? How many are getting a good education, training? How many can happily start a business with the confidence that it will thrive and they will thrive with it? How many of our older members of society are living in retirement, well taken care of, with good health programs, a good environment that dignifies their well-being? So those are the questions that devolution, the governance structure that we have, is actually instrumental towards, you see. So it's not a matter of the fact that we have a county government or we have county governments. We have governors, we have chief officers and all on the retinue of staff. But at the end of the day, what is that delivering to Kenyans? And so when that is a question, then we will never have perfection because we have to keep it
Keep on improving.
Keep on improving by the day.
Okay.
So that's my answer to that.
Okay.
The failures, again, there are different threads to this. There are historical and philosophical reasons. We have to understand that even 7 years into devolution, there are people who are not happy with the system. They don't like it, and they would rather have it done away with. And so they will use every opportunity, every wherewithal within their means to ensure devolution fails. And for some who have the opportunity because of the offices they hold, they will do that. Make sure counties don't get money, make sure they don't get enough. If they get money, it's not in good time, it's not enough. Ensure that they sort of confiscate some of the powers and functions and responsibilities that have been Kenyans have delivered to counties for implementation. So there's that theory, a valid one, that even as we implement devolution, there are still enemies of devolution out there. Secondly, as I was saying, there are failures of our own making in terms of the people we elect to lead and steward the process. The people who are appointed again by those that we elect to run the systems. And so as long as, and I think at least with that, it's something that we can take care of. And as you were saying earlier, I think these are conversations that especially now during the run-up to the next elections, need to be at the priority level.
And is that discussion being lost in this all this political noise? Because yes, people are talking about the economy, people are talking about handouts and stuff like that. But when it comes to entrenching devolution, that conversation is really missing in the political discourse.
It is, and part of the reason is also we are still beholden to the national political game. Who's going to be president?
Yes.
Who's going to, and so that makes more noise or receives better audience than the noise coming from the counties.
It's interesting you say that, because part of the rationale behind devolution was to take away the focus from the presidency, from the centralized system of government.
Yes.
But we can actually see right now that even governors, who are supposed to be the major characters in entrenching devolution, are slowly gravitating around the people running for the national presidency. Do you think there's a risk of watering down the gains in that? They seem to be looking back at the presidency now?
Well, in a sense, yes, in a particular way, and it's also because of the way our politics is structured. The patronizing way of the way we run our politics, with the backdrop of ethno-regional mobilization, which is again catalyzed by financial and commercial might. And so at the end of the day, you find that it's money, and the moneyed who control everything, including, as a pyramid cascade, everyone is beholden to the man or woman will have the biggest handbag or the biggest wallet.
The purpose
it is a challenge. I don't think it defeats the purpose, but it is a challenge as of now. But considering that, as I was saying, and devolution was part of the devolution was to come and fight this. One of the reasons we came up with devolution was separation of powers. And to some extent, that's been seen to work, and especially politically so, because you are seeing sometimes the national government is not able to exercise its might the way it would want to, because there is another level. There are some other players in the name of governors. And because of the way political formations are, you find counties that are led, aspire and subscribe to different political parties, different political formations. And so in that entire rigmarole, it helps in ensuring that power is not concentrated in one place. So as we are trying to escape from this olden, it's one person who is Baba and Mama, we'll still have a bit of revisiting, going back to that. I call it political hysteresis, We still lag behind. The system goes forward, but our minds and our characters are still in 2000 and probably even
back in the 90s.
2000 or back in the 90s. But I think when we still have the system, at least we have the blueprint, and there are those of us who keep reminding us that, hey, we are going wrong. The very brave, patriotic Kenyan men and women who keep running to court to say, you know what, we have a blueprint here. And I think 1, 2, 3 were done, and they were not done as per this blueprint. And then they go to courts. Courts also now which are saying we were failing to do what we're supposed to do because, again, we didn't have a blueprint that enabled us. Now we have a blueprint that enabled us. So all these forces are coming together, yes, despite a very challenging environment, but winning day by day small spaces. And I think it is these small spaces that we are winning that are eventually going to change and circumvent some of these problems.
Let's now talk about money, because it has been a big issue in devolution. Revenue sharing, revenue allocation to the counties. Of course, this was to be based on the number of functions that were devolved to the counties. Yet we've seen failures in that system as well. Some of the counties probably did not have proper capacity to handle the functions, leave alone the money. And don't you think that because of the kind of strikes we saw, the doctors' strikes, the strikes by health workers in various counties, that is one of those issues that prompted calls by Kenyans that probably we should revisit some of the functions that have been taken to the devolved units. Do you think it is time for us to revisit and try and change or adjust a few things that you already see have failed?
What has failed, really? You know, where we can say there's been a total collapse. I mean, even when you look at the doctors or health workers strikes, they didn't start with the devolution. They actually started before devolution. You go back to the history of strikes, and even before the strikes, the health sector practitioners complaining about poor service delivery ecosystem. That goes before devolution. And that's why sometimes when you look at devolution and the problems or challenging bedeviling the whole structure and system, as I was saying, it's historical. You know, we inherited, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Some of us expected to see this. There's a friend of mine who keeps telling me that back in 2010, I promised him that around 2015-16, half the governors would be in jail. And so he says that hasn't happened.
We've not seen anyone.
Because for us, some of us who are, you know, probably in certain rooms and certain spaces and in the thick and thin of some of these decisions, we could foresee that change was not going to happen, as you earlier said, like, you know, a magic wand, and then everything changes. That's some of these issues are organic. They take time to change, not using time as an excuse, I keep saying, but because they're societal. Before you hit the optimal place to say now we can say we have changed and we have moved to the next scale, it takes a bit of time.
But don't you think it will need a proactive look at some of the failures?
Yes.
For us to sit back and say, okay, fine, we need to change a few things here.
Yeah.
After all, it's we're not seeking perfection immediately. It's a process that will go on forever. Don't you think that because even away from the functions, because we're still talking about money, the burden of representation, for example, the number of MCAs that probably because there's a requirement for gender balance and things like that, that we are unnecessarily burdening the taxpayer, that some of these things need a proactive look at and probably an effort towards change at this point, not necessarily to wait for a later time.
We must ask ourselves, why are we even calling it a burden of representation? Why is it a burden?
Financially, probably, because a number of MCAs are simply there because we have to meet that gender threshold.
And because we did not take care of this previously, you know, people talk about overrepresentation or underrepresentation. But have you ever asked yourself who is talking about that? Because when you look at how the Constitution is crafted, with the relevance of minorities and special interest groups, it's sometimes very grave when you say that some people in certain rooms, because they don't represent you, then you don't see the need for them. But for many other Kenyans, these people are very important, even just at the optical level of saying so-and-so who sounds like me is in that room that I never thought us would be, is a very big step. But again, it becomes expensive when you look at what you're trying to repair. You know, 40 years after independence, with marginalization, with people who have been forgotten, and then you come up with a system that tries to ensure that everyone is represented, then definitely it's going to be expensive. But again, you have to look at it, like I was saying, through a cost-benefit analysis. What are the benefits that you are accruing for this? Mm-hmm. One, you're building a nation, you know. Now you have Kenyans who feel part and parcel of the country. One, just because mm-hmm. they feel they belong to a certain governance, administrative and political unit. We went through the principles or reasons why we came up with devolution. Self-governance, you know, self-determination mm-hmm. is an aspect of it. So just, and why nowadays when you meet Kenyans, you say, I'm so and so, but the third question is, which county do you come from? Mm-hmm. So that sense of ownership and belonging to a certain political, administrative and governance unit mm-hmm. is very important. And also for others. And again, unfortunately, this is also being abused, you know, where you say you want certain spaces mm-hmm. for certain interests of our community to be represented. But then you find other people are the ones who are abusing that system. Then it's not the system that is wrong. Yes. It is those people who are abusing it. So wow. we change those people. Mm-hmm. That's the failure. The failure is the people. It's not the, that's the
opportunity Kenyans have been given in the next 9 months.
So if you nominate the wrong person,
mm-hmm.
it's
failure on your part as a Kenyan.
That's somebody who's supposed to go there and represent persons with disability or persons who are alternatively abled, mm-hmm. and then you nominate the wrong person. The provision is not wrong. It's mm-hmm. the person who nominated. Yeah.
Well, Bobby Mkangi, unfortunately, we've run out of time.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Bobby Mkangi, a constitutional lawyer. He served as member of the committee of experts that helped birth the new constitution, of which brought with it what we're experiencing now, and this is the devolved system of government. Of course, this is a deep conversation, and it will continue this entire week in Makueni and online on KTN News KE on Twitter. Use the hashtag Kivumbi2022. Thank you so much, Bwana Mkangi. Let's take a break, and then we'll receive latest news updates shortly.